morning, everyone. The management and the organizing committee of BBNG, the dignitaries here, ladies and gentlemen. I see many friends also. First of all, let me thank the management of BBNG for giving me this opportunity to deliver a keynote address. The topic which I have chosen is the global perspective and the opportunities for Indian manufacturers. This being a manufacturing conclave, I thought that I should be dwelling upon a global perspective rather than only a domestic perspective as such. So when I'm talking about global perspective and manufacturing, there are two big things that one is really arriving at. Before getting into the actual topic, I just would like to appreciate the members of the BBNG who have interacted with me. Let me tell you, you are pure souls. You have great amount of character and great amount of integrity. The limited interactions which I've had in a group and individually has given me that motivation to come here again and again. And this is the second time I have been speaking to the audience, of course, on a much larger platform as far as BBNG is concerned. And thanks to all the officials of BBNG who think that I can deliver what they want. And I'm trying to really work out these 15 minutes to come around that kind of a confidence that you have bestowed on me. And let me see if I can reach home a couple of concepts which I have been experiencing it globally in my own businesses also. Why do we talk of manufacturing today? Manufacturing is an essential part of our GDP, which used to contribute almost 15%, which has been raised to 25% by the present government. And ultimately, so many people have talked about it, that we want to reach the fourth positions, we want to reach the third positions, etc., etc. 2030, the target could be $10 trillion. And in that, the services or the manufacturing is going to play a major role as far as GDP is concerned. And which is where the government and the industrialists put together various bodies. They thought that we could really contribute to that kind of an economical scale upliftment or upgradation only through increasing the manufacturing sector and the services sector. Manufacturing is becoming very, very important. And when we are talking about manufacturing, leaving aside the large-scale industry, which certainly contributes to a greater extent, but I cannot forget the MSMEs with whom I have been working for the last 4 to 5 years. I also worked when I was there in MCCIA in the executive committee, and I was also doing the automotive component committee as its chairman. Interacting with MSC is of absolute pure joy. And because the people who are hungry, the people who are hungry of knowledge, people who want to do something big, and they need that kind of a mentorship or they need that kind of a guidance, and that is why these institutions are there. Now, when we talk about the MSMEs, MSMEs constitute almost 55% of the manufacturing. Now, when we talk about this 55%, it is quite going to be very, very huge when we are talking of a number of $10 trillion. How many number of zeros those are going to come in, that one has to realize. Now, when we talk about MSMEs, micro is very small. So when I see a gathering like yours, we could qualify in that and climb that ladder from MSM, micro, small, medium, and then ultimately you become large. Why not? Like our chief guest today, he said that you think big, then only you become big. My boss had always told me this, that if I set up a target up there, I might reach there. But if I set a target there, I might go down further. So there's no harm in thinking big. And once you start thinking big, you formulate your policies, they get formulated to reach that particular target. And therefore, MSME becomes very, very important, and that you having that desire, motivation to climb that particular ladder, going to that MSM and then large industry becomes very, very inevitable. I have many friends here in Mr. Umesh Dasharathi, where he started like that, and today he is one of the largest industry in Aurangabad, doing a fantastic job in automotive industry on a tier 1 level. So there are several such cases which I can highlight where people have climbed in the first generation itself or in the same generation as well. So nothing is difficult as long as you think it is going to happen. So manufacturing has its importance. Why we are talking about globalization? So let me take a stock of 10 years. So from 2014 to 2024, if I could bifurcate 2014 to 2020 and 2020 to 2024, I'm just drawing a line where COVID was there. So at the time of COVID, pre-COVID and post-COVID, things have changed very, very drastically. I have been experiencing that. I've been talking on this subject several times, and physically in my own businesses also I have experienced that. Pre-COVID, what was the scenario? We were totally an inward-looking society in the sense that we were very much satisfied with what was there served on our platter. We never really looked at it. Why? Not because we didn't want to, because the competition was very, very severe. From low-cost countries like China, Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam, Korea, you name these countries, they are all rich in exports, rich in manufacturing, and they were doing all kinds of cost-effective solutions. And finding markets with these competitors breathing on your neck was absolutely a big, big problem, which I have experienced in the last 30 years. And these 5 years I have selected only for that purpose, just to toss it out from pre-COVID to a post-COVID situation. So we were having a tremendous amount of competition. We were inward-looking thing. We always believed in high-tech, low-volume business because we couldn't get into low-tech, high-volume, which China was there, which Taiwan was there, which Thailand was there, or maybe the Koreans were there. So they were mastering it. And if we really evaluate the total chunk of business, where high-tech, low-volume may constitute substantial percentage of that total business that was coming globally, but certainly low-tech, high-volume was taking up a larger pie out of that total market share which was available. And these countries were virtually dominating that because of their automation, because of their digitalization, because of their manufacturing practices and whatnot. And certainly, these things were very, very important at that time, and then we couldn't do much. But then what happened? And that is where the transition of 2020 comes in, where everyone realized that manufacturing is not going to be that easy during the COVID times. If they had migrated to some smart manufacturing techniques like Industry 4.0 or Industry 5.0, they could have salvaged certain productivity, if not total. Because our production was totally dependent on manpower, skilled, semi-skilled, unskilled, whatnot. People migrated to their own places, and that is where most of the factories, especially MSMEs, they suffered. Large companies, they managed somehow. But the MSMEs suffered on manpower, MSMEs suffered on demand, MSMEs suffered on finances. And which is where the government really took it to themselves in offering certain packages with which certain MSMEs were revived very well. But then that was not enough. It was the time when most of the people, they realized that what is required to be done. And post-COVID, the same number of people who were very much averse to technology as far as manufacturing was concerned, they were running for technology. And which is where the smart manufacturing principles, they come about. We started automating factories, we started digitalizing factories. Now why suddenly everyone wanted to do that? Because China disappeared from the map. This was a China plus one strategy. Everyone started blaming China for what happened worldwide as far as business was concerned. So when China disappeared from this thing, we drafted a China plus one policy. When I say we, the rest of the world, except China. When China plus one strategies were drafted, everyone was looking for alternatives. Which were the alternatives which were available then? Right next to China was the neighbor, which is India, which India was always struggling for giving the cost-effective solutions, but they were not able to compete as far as these Chinese, Taiwanese, or Thailand or Korean people were concerned. So we started getting exposure. Everyone wanted to come down to India and look at India as a manufacturing hub, which is when I floated on LinkedIn also that if you want to relocate your supply chain and if you want to relocate your manufacturing facilities from any of these low-cost countries, we are here in India to take care of you. And this, I took it up to an international conference in Vietnam where I spoke also in telling them that why people should be looking at India as a global manufacturing hub. Because we can deliver. We have that technical competence, we have that intellectual capital, we have that infrastructure, we have everything, we have a willing government who is ready to invest, who is ready to allow you to invest in India. And that is where this scenario changed. What we use as the term as the geopolitical scenario. Everyone wanted to come down to India. We were already leaders as far as IT was concerned. We were already leaders on agriculture. We were already leader on healthcare because of COVID, where we produced vaccine, exported to almost 60 countries free of cost, I think mostly. And then everyone realized that we were one of the biggest sources for supply of manpower. The intellectual capital is so much from our country, which really went offshore, and then people started utilizing Indians for doing their intellectual jobs. And let me tell you, another advantage that India had was that almost 50% of our population is young. Whereas in the world, most of the population is falling in the range beyond 40 plus or 50 plus, whereas we are between 25 and 50. And this population in next 5 years was, from 2020 I'm talking, was going to come into profession. And you can imagine of 140 crores, 70 crores lying between 25 and 35, and at the age of 30 and 35, these people are going to be in position. Today, they are in that position to contribute to the GDP and to contribute to the nation to go to that particular level that one is trying to imagine. So that was the strength when people started looking at India. And then India invested in manufacturing. India invested because when the global demand comes on you, the first thing that happens is the scalability part of it. Were we geared up to handle the kind of scales which were required by the people there? We were not. And that is where the smart manufacturing fundamentals, they came into being. We started doing the kind of production rates which people wanted us to do, because the requirements were very, very heavy. I have seen the plants in China, I have seen the plants in Korea, where they do almost 1 million pieces per day. And if I give an inquiry in India, in any of the industries saying that I require 1 million per day, it is just not possible. It's a dream come true. So the thing is that scaling up to that particular level was not possible immediately. So we have taken time from 2020 till 2025. Today, we can accept these kind of requirements coming. Of course, I still doubt whether we can handle that kind of a low-tech, high-volume business even now, because it will take time. Replacing China is not going to be very, very easy. We talk a lot that we are going to replace China, things like that, whether it be infrastructure, whether it is production capacities, whether it is automation, whether it is digitalization, whether it is manufacturing. It is going to take another 10 to 15 years for us to reach that particular position so that we can claim. And of course, when we are going up, somebody is not going to sleep. They are also going up. And we have seen how the technology really plays a role in the recent that warfare that took place, where people couldn't imagine what India could do. So that is where India would like to go, but then we are doing our homework. Not too much of publicity on that, but then we want to reach that destination in 2030, where we would like to become a maybe 10 or 15 or 20 trillion, whatever that number, doesn't matter. But then we want to grab that place, third place in the economical scenario as far as global perspective is concerned. Now, when we are talking about all these things, government has been very, very proactive. They have been supporting by way of this PLI, the export incentives are there, the reforms, taxations have taken place, the infrastructure development that one is trying to talk, the foreign direct investments flexibility has been provided, and certainly all these things is leading to ease of doing business. So today somebody can really think about scaling up or setting up a business. It is not going to be that difficult for someone to really think of. So we are trying to propagate, like the motto of BBNG is also there, that we want to create more job givers than job seekers. And it is in that spirit that the entrepreneurship is going to play a role. So let me tell you, as when I'm standing here, that next decade belongs to us, Indians. And all of us must exert to meet that deadline. If at all, mentioned to me that we are going to have this manufacturing plan. I said, yes. The moment you include manufacturing into BBNG portfolio, 50,000 is a very small target, Nandan. Let me tell you that. Because manufacturing is something which is spread out. And there will be many more people we are propagating that kind of a concept. Today's conclave will definitely spread that word. From these 200, there will be 2,000 people who will get encouraged, motivated, and they will start their manufacturing setup. But let me tell you, the next decade belongs to us as far as manufacturing is concerned. There are going to be several growth opportunities beyond imagination. Very recently, we were being thrown into a sort of a dilemma by the American administration when they announced certain tariffs. Let me tell you that tariff is also going to help Indians only. There is an article which I have written in one of the magazines, Efficient Manufacturing. A short note immediately after the tariff was announced, I said all the roads are going to lead to India. The logic was very, very simple. If you see Japan, if you see Korea, if you see Thailand, you see Taiwan, you see China, they are net exporters. And all put sanctions on India, but there are more sanctions on us rather than on them. So understand the kind of strategic advantage that we have it. We do not rely so much on exports as much as we rely on our domestic demand. We have 1.4 billion people to consume. There are some families who are yet to buy their first motorcycle. There are some people who are yet to buy their first cycle. These are all notations I'm giving it, but then these are the things which are going to rev up ultimately in the manufacturing, in the GDP, and ultimately give us that advantage as far as the economy is concerned. So please hold back. The time is there, and work out your calculations and then work it out. The advantage that India has is the domestic consumption. Everyone is looking at India's consumption, because the markets have disappeared as far as China is concerned. If we say a third of the population lives in this part of the world, that is India and China, if China goes out of it, only India remains. India remains for intellectual capital, India remains for manufacturing, India remains for all the ethical practices as far as business are concerned. Like our chief guest also mentioned, that we are more ethical. We believe in our character, we believe in our integrity, and that is where exactly we are hitting the entire world. We are showing our character. The recent delegations, 7 delegations have gone with at least 8 to 10 people each to different countries. Just see the kind of sobriety or the maturity with which we are expressing the agenda. Whereas some people are taking it to the press without any homework. But then we as a country are showing that maturity. And that has helped us today to come in that particular strategic position where, like Japan or Korea, I have already started receiving inquiries from Japan to find partners in India so that they would like to treat India as a conduit to go to US. Because India is going to have a favored nation status as far as America is concerned. At least that's what people are saying. We may not be taxed as much as China. Today, 170% China is being taxed. Japan is taxed maybe in a similar manner. But those people are doing it with a dual purpose. One is that they want to set up a plant here with Indian partners and go to US to capitalize on that demand. And the second most important aspect is that they would like to consume the Indian demand as well. There are a couple of Japanese companies who have already done that, Honda, Toyota, whatever you name, or Korean companies like Hyundai, Kia, and all those people. They have already done it in automotive sector. But then there are several other sectors which are opening up. Like textile is going to open up, pharma is going to open up, electronics is going to open up, automotive is going to open up. Now these sectors are going to give you a tremendous advantage and a bandwidth We were already leading in 4 or 5 sectors. Another 4 or 5 sectors are being looked at as far as India is concerned. What more we want to be served on our table? The food is ready on the table. It is just the fact, or the matter of fact, that we are required to just prepare ourselves with a fork and knife and start cutting it and taking it, galloping it the way we would like to. So prepare ourselves. My only message to this audience here today is that there is a tremendous opportunity waiting for you if you prepare yourself properly. Let me tell you, everything is fine, but then no substitute to hard work, no substitute to right work or logical work or relevant work. Nobody is going to come and serve you on your plate. You will have to struggle to get what you want, what you deserve. So in order to do that, you need to have that kind of a setup which has got to be created. So let me wish you all the best on this particular occasion. 15 minutes, a global perspective, whatever I could really share. I have many things to talk about, which I can do it offline also. But then certainly I think I have delivered the message. My concern was only to motivate you, to tell you that next decade belongs to us, so work for it, and you will go where you want to be. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.